Hi, welcome. This is our third webinar. Today we're going to be talking about hosting virtual events, but real quick, a little housekeeping. My name is Sandy Spinagle, and I am having the privilege of working with Charles County Economic Development, who has partnered with Charles County Chamber of Commerce, and collectively we've partnered with US Tech right here in Charles County, Maryland. So we're really excited to be bringing you this webinar series. They're every Wednesday from 2 o'clock, and they'll continue through early June. And the idea was to, provide you with some tools and tips and tactics to help your businesses thrive in this time of uncertainty. And today we're talking about hosting virtual events. Before we get into introducing our panelists, I just want you to know that this is, we've got the chat box is open, so please feel free to use that if there's something that you need to communicate with us, if you're having any challenges that we might be able to help you with. Or we have the Q&A box. I prefer the Q&A box if you have a specific question, and then and we can kind of make sure and keep that on track. Please encourage, I please encourage you to dive in, ask your questions. You can put them in there now, and it might be something that we're planning on answering later on. With that, we've had Jay on board with US Tech for the last couple of weeks. They've been our tech partner. You guys have seen Jay for a minute or two, and then he tucks away behind the scenes. But Jay, and today we're also joined by Charlie, who is the president of US Tech, as our tech partner and subject matter expert for this session. And we also have my good friend and a very respected event planner working nationally, Sinise. So Sinise, if you could just give me a real quick, give the attendees a real quick, kind of introduction of you and your experience to help us navigate today.
Absolutely. I started out in event planning in, working in corporate, and after about 10 years of doing that, I switched over to freelance event planning because I just wanted some more balance in my life from all of the travel. So I've got 25 plus years experience, and I do corporate events, a lot of annual sales conferences, investor conferences, product launches, incentive programs, and now online virtual events.
Awesome, thank you. Charlie, I'm going to turn it over to you and let you and Jay introduce yourselves and the company to everybody.
Well, I'm Charles. I'm the president of US Tech. US Tech is a full-service business telephone company since 1985, servicing the metropolitan area region, and Jay's a technical expert for the conference today.
Yeah, I've been working for Charles for almost 22 years now, and so we know each other pretty well, and we've seen the business grow from analog systems, pagers, all the way up to now what we're using in Zoom platforms and voice over IP. So we've seen it all, and we've been able to work with all kinds of platforms and devices, hardware and software. So been around for a while.
Awesome, thank you. And yes, Charles, we've been talking for a month now, but I keep calling you Charlie in my head, so I apologize. I will get back to Charlie. As a Sandy, if somebody calls me Sandra or something like that, I cringe. So I apologize. Anyway, wanted to dive in doing that. Can we, and Charles, I'm going to turn this to you or Jay, I think, is to help us kind of understand the differences. We use this virtual event term really loosely. Can you help us to define that a little bit? Maybe the differences between webinars and virtual events and meetings and all the things that everybody is doing these days?
Basically, the difference between video conferencing, webinars, and virtual events are similar in that they are what they say. They are virtual. You're going out through the internet. But the main difference are webinars, streaming, and conferencing. Video conferencing, you have more of a one-on-one ability to talk to everybody. Everybody can talk with each other. Webinar is more of, this is a webinar right here, so you have a few panelists, and then everybody else is an attendee. They don't call They're not called until they're called upon, you know. And streaming is basically for if you have a large event and you're not going to have that one-on-one conversation. It's just going to be one person. And it's good for musical events and things like that. But if you need interaction with your friends, with your business partners, with the world, you're going to want video conferencing.
Awesome. Sinise, what are you seeing in terms of how people are transitioning from being able to do these in-person things to now embracing different virtual events? What are you seeing in that capacity?
Definitely seeing more engagement with the production partners, because I think that this is a new thing, right? We don't have a precedence. Most of us don't have a precedence for coming into this. So what I'm seeing is a lot more engagement with our production partners and with our clients, and diving a little deeper, because the in-person meetings we've done before, we know what to expect. With this, it's a bit more, we want to make sure we're hitting expectations on all sides. So a lot more deep diving before pre-planning, and a whole other element to pre-planning if you want to have a successful online event. I think that's a new added element into pre-planning that I'm seeing.
Awesome. I think one of the things that you hit on is something I'm going to pop up as a poll question. And you're right, this was something that we weren't doing before. There were so few and far between, but I'm curious how many Zoom calls you've been on this week alone. So, and I did this week, not this day, but this week. And yeah, the numbers are up there. We've got, we're doing so much more of this, and it is really a whole new bit of space. Yeah, I thank you for that. Cool. Okay, I'm gonna end that poll and share these results with you, which is kind of fun. Some of the early votes were about 11 plus. I think those people were really had a lot of experience in doing this. But yes, you're all are doing something. We've got people. It's only Wednesday, and we've got 43% of you. Are in that 5 to 9 Zoom calls, and probably hadn't been doing any prior to this pandemic. So anyway, thank you for that, Sinise. I appreciate it. Jay and Charles, can you talk to me a little bit about the services that US Tech provides, companies, and how this some of this integration can help from a technology perspective?
Well, we've like I said earlier, we've evolved throughout the years with what is relevant and with technology. Right now, it's voice over IP, and we have solutions for both traditional telephone systems, voice over IP, and we have a platform called Teams, which gives you everything all in one. You can have video conferencing, a telephone on your desk that gives you a mobile app that mirrors your telephone on your desk. You have chat, text messaging right from your portal, and you get a login, and you're on your computer, and you can use your computer as a phone if you'd like to. So that's the technology now, is voice over IP, and now we become a Zoom reseller. So it's what we do now. Between video conferencing, voice over IP, and traditional phone systems is where we spend all our time.
Awesome. Cool. Thank you.
Yeah, well, it's a unification app. So basically, it also does video conferencing. Yeah. Basically, it's one source software that's going to combine all the media types that your business uses, such as texting, video, conference rooms. All this is in one platform, one software that's shared amongst all the devices you'll have: an iPad, a PC, your cell phone, any device. So really, it allows for the ultimate mobility for a business when it comes to, working with their client bases.
Yeah. You could basically,
Yeah.
your iPad could be your telephone and your video conferencing system all at the same time with the Teams, the UC suite.
Yeah. All our services are
You
on on our website, ustech.com,
Yeah.
ustech.com.
Awesome, thank you. Yeah, I think that the couple of things that pop into my head are that, yes, nowadays we all have to be tech companies, whether we're a grocery store and, figuring out new ways to adapt, or, we're professional services and utilizing in this expectation. And I think that, certainly in a place of this pandemic, we all need to have those tech partners and resources to figure out how to set us up so that we can be mobile and, can be working from anywhere. So
Absolutely.
thank you for that understanding. Cool. What about some of the different platforms that are out there? You mentioned a lot. We're obviously using Zoom today. You mentioned Teams, but your Teams is different from Microsoft Teams, right? Or Google Hangout. I mean, we've got all these different things. Can you help us to navigate that space a little bit?
Well, ours like Teams with Microsoft. It is an all-in-one platform. I've broken it down. If I can share my screen, I can tell you the list of other platforms where you can do for hosting, video conferencing, and also to break down pricing too for you, which I think would help people. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and try and get into this.
So real quick, for those of you watching this webinar and haven't seen some of the behind the scenes and how these things change, really quick and easy ways of transitioning from Sandy sharing hers to Jay and Charles sharing theirs.
As you can see here, there's a lot of different companies that do hosting, video streaming. Zoom, you can see it it's shows up twice. One being probably the most affordable one out there. And when you're looking at platforms, you're not just going by price. You're considering quality, reliability, features, and costs per month or per year. You got to ask yourself what's important, because some platforms will give you better services or features than others. Like if you want marketing tools, if you need landing pages for your hosting, if you need to be able to stream on Facebook, YouTube, or whatever streaming service you want to use. But for what we are doing, we need quality, reliability, because we're hosting a lot of events, and so quality, reliability, and features and cost are why we chose Zoom. But you can see the different companies: Zoom Meetings, Webinar Ninja, Crowdcast, Zoom Webinars, Easy Webinar, Click Meeting, Big Marker, Demio, and GoToWebinar. GoToWebinar is probably the most expensive, and the reason we didn't choose them is they don't have the best features. They do have very good quality, very reliable, but they don't have the features, and it's a little, you can get the same bang for your buck, actually more with Zoom. So that's why we chose that. And they come in more, you can buy you can upscale to, 100 panelists to 500 or up to 1,000. Now, when you go over 1,000 and you start getting up to like 10,000 range, that's more of you want to just stick with streaming then. But you can see these are yearly prices for different hosting platforms.
Okay, so that's what I'm looking at now, or the annual pricing for all of those different things. Yeah. Okay. Cool. And we can make these slides available, right? Are you okay if we put these slides on?
That's totally, that's okay with us. I just wanted to show you one more slide. This basically is a breakdown of real-time interaction. If you need, like I said earlier, if you need real-time interaction, video conferencing is what you want. If you want live stream, if that doesn't matter to you, because a live stream is going to be probably 10 to 30 seconds behind lag time, so you won't have that interaction like you do for video conferencing. But I'm going to stop screen sharing right now, Sandy, and I'll give it back to you.
Cool. Okay, thank you. So and I'm just going to pop back up my screen here in a second. The live streaming piece you're talking about on, live streaming on YouTube or live streaming on Facebook, something like that. And there's a lot of these platforms seems to have that integration between the two, and making that easy. I didn't realize that there was a lag time.
Yes.
So that might be something that I think others have probably experienced if they're trying. And again, as Sinise said, experience, testing these things, trying something new that we haven't done before.
That's one of the things that we do. We specialize in that is going into the customer. We will go on site and we can assess what they have. And lag time, one of the things we would assess is what is their upload speed with their internet source, provider. And you're going to need at least 10 megabits per second for a good video conferencing, because Facebook, they stream at about about 5 megabits per second. You need 10 to consider fluctuation. And fluctuation is when you're talking and your lips aren't kind of syncing up to your words, or your screen is freezing, or you're getting that digital robotic look. Well, that's fluctuation. So the more speed you have, the less that's going to happen. And we also encourage getting FiOS, fiber optic, because there's less fluctuation on fiber cables than there is in coax or broadband. So we recommend fiber, getting at least 10 megabytes per second with your upload speed. And that's not a lot. You can go up to 100, most carriers 100 up, 100 down, some higher. But that's some of the things we analyze when we talk to the business owner.
It's funny. I think that one of the things that Sinise and I were talking about in advance of this call was the elements of what kind of traditional event planning and engaging your partners and understanding your goals and things like that. And now we've got this whole other piece of a tech partner that is definitely there in a live event, because we all like technology in a live event as well. Sinise, can you talk to us a little bit about kind of the piece of event planning that I feel like we almost jumped into making these events digital, but kind of or virtual. Let's take a step back and some of those kind of fundamental important pieces to do when planning an event.
I think if you're looking to, take your event online, there's no set that's right across the board, right? Because every event is different. So every set of tips for you is going to be different. But in general, I would say definitely things you want to consider are people's attention span. We lose them even when we're in the room with them. We're losing them even quicker when we're online with them. So you've really got to think long and hard about your content, the duration of your content. Can you break it up? Should you break it up? What should you take out? Make sure that it's engaging. Think about your presenters. If they're not engaging, don't put them on the screen. Even if that's their role at the head of the company and they've got to give that address, if they can't do it in an engaging way, you're going to lose your people. So make sure you're choosing presenters that are engaging. Another thing, to the point that Jay and Charles have been talking about, is do the work, figure out the right platform. You could do different types of events, and the same platform may not be the right platform for every event that you're going to do. So make sure you're investing in the right platform, a good design, Think about the security needs. That's definitely a big one that's coming up, online security. What type of security you need. There's a ton of different options that you can offer your attendees to make sure that they're getting a secure connection and that your content isn't being accessed by people that you don't want accessing it. And think about how, other ways to engage them. There are social walls. You can do hashtags and get your sponsors involved in your hashtags and help them promote. And I think another aspect, which I'm loving to see more clients get into, is post engagement. Take what you're doing with that time with them and keep them engaged through social media. And I don't know if we'll get into this or we can talk about it another time, but just thinking about all the different ways we're looking at sponsorship now with virtual events, brainstorming a whole new way to give them value as well as to give the attendees, the participants, value, and making it mutually beneficial for both sides, the company and their sponsors. There's just so many different elements to it. So I feel like it really depends on which type of event it could be for, but I think those are some general things you want to think about when you're taking your event online.
So thinking about the type of event, I like to kind of come up with an idea, and we've got a mixed group of attendees here today. Let's say you are a nonprofit, running a nonprofit, and you're trying to engage your attendees, your stakeholders at different levels, people that you're providing service to, or you're doing a fundraising event. Any kind of thoughts on ways to engage that audience, engage. I mean, you and I have talked about sponsors and having sponsors participate in these virtual events. Any kind of tips or thoughts along those lines?
Absolutely, yes. One of the things I'm discussing with a client who's doing an event like that is, having a sponsored entertainment break. Right? Because we go to these fundraisers and part of it is there's always some entertainment level. So don't think you can't give that element. You can still give that element online, absolutely, and you can have it sponsored. I think as well as in between content, you can do video and ad breaks, whatever they may be, whether it's sponsorship or housekeeping, things like that. Also bringing your sponsors into a panel, giving them more of an active role since they aren't getting that face-to-face in a networking reception that might happen before your fundraising event. A couple other things is, everybody's home. So, and everybody loves getting stuff, right? We all go to these events and we get stuff and we all love getting stuff, whether we're going to use it or not. Everybody's like, what's the giveaway? You can still do that. Drinks at home, food and beverage at home. People love that. There's also a ton of things you can give people online because they are at home and maybe they're getting a little too much family time. Lots of gifts you could do are for download a free movie. There's just so many things out there that you could think about doing. Just if you don't already have a planner that you work with or someone on your team that has that role, you want to make sure you're engaging a professional, bring them into the conversation, brainstorm with them.
Awesome. Cool. One of the other things that you and I have talked about recently is if you don't feel comfortable asking for sponsorship right now, depending upon, if you have the luxury of not and hosting, then maybe if it's an annual event, then you thank the sponsors from last year and give them a little value add and extra for this year. So, it's all about those relationships. So,
absolutely. Closing credits, thanking your sponsors, or a few minutes prior to starting your online event, doing something for them, because it is hard times for everybody. And I do think that's a great point, Sandy, is that you want to show that you value and respect that relationship and you understand what we're all going through. And you can add it to your content for no cost.
Cool. Jay, I want to shift the conversation a little bit and talk about, participation. We've got people that are engaged on video, we're watching on their screen. We've also had people that are just listening in. Can you talk about some of the, in hosting virtual events and getting engagement in different capacity, whether somebody is calling in over the phone or they're engaging on their laptop or on a smartphone device? You're muted over.
Well, if you're talking about hardware, we have different solutions that we offer that we suggest whether you're, the video conferencing, of course, if you're on a mobile device or an iPad or a computer, but there's also free parts of the Teams suite that you can take advantage of. And that's one is a conference bridge where we can assign you a number and you can have as many people call on that bridge as you want. And then all of a sudden, I think we did that last week. You called in on our conference bridge and we had a nice little meeting and really easy. You just set a pin and they call in, enter the pin, and then you're talking. And it's real easy. You can do that from when you're driving, talking on the phone. We have all the phone systems have conference calling built in. And then the video conferencing, aspect, all of this is built into the platform. So you can engage in all three of those ways for, minimal cost.
Cool. We've got a question from Bonnie at the Chamber, and she'd like to hear, different ways that maybe the Chamber of Commerce or other, organizations like that in ways of online events and ways that we can be, engaging people. Sinise, are you seeing, chambers across the country shifting and doing more online events these days?
Yes, I am, because there were a lot of educational trips that they do for planners, and obviously they've all been canceled. So I've seen a lot of things shift online, and they're doing a lot of really interesting things. And I think the great thing about it is it's really started to humanize the reps that I work with. So it's a positive that's come out of this, because they're sharing recipes from the team and doing little cooking classes and showing local flavor. So they're doing it in a lot of different ways. They're doing it through food, they're doing it through drinks, they're highlighting events, they're doing virtual museum walkthroughs, just all the different things to let your local areas shine and support them.
Yeah, I think that
I see this.
Awesome, thank you. I see other chambers and economic development partners doing similar things to like this now, like this webinar series, which is great. I see some doing, taking their chamber mixers and making them virtual. I see some doing their, I haven't seen a virtual business card exchange. Maybe that's a big LinkedIn party, I'm not sure. But coming up with different ways of doing these things. And I think that, if anyone, for all of our attendees, if you're here and you'd like for the chamber to be doing more, please, share it in the chat, or, certainly reach out to Bonnie at the Charles County Chamber of Commerce. They are here working for you every single day, certainly as is economic development. So, let's see, I want to talk a little bit about the, kind of some of the benefits of hosting virtual events. Jay, what are you guys seeing in terms of the benefits of being able to work and deliver exciting content in this space?
Just basically being able to help the customer, help friends and family out too, navigate through this wide variety of software, hardware. It's what everybody's doing right now. So to be on the ground floor of it, 5-6 years ago, we had a head start on it. So it's just very gratifying to be able to help people navigate through it, especially with Zoom. Zoom is very widely used. One of the benefits of doing hosting events is you're able to record, events and do replays on them. You can help people with web management. You can send your platform to web pages and build email lists. And those are just some of the advantages to virtual meetings.
Cool.
Yeah.
Charles, did you have anything else?
Well, pretty much. It's today's medium to communicate and,
Yeah.
and be able to track and I guess make it 100%. So yeah, we've been doing this for a while, pretty much for the last 10 years, creating video conference rooms, Zoom rooms, things like this for large associations to reduce travel expenses, to really get more out of it. And it's been working. But now, since the corona, it's kind of forced on everybody just really fast, and small business as well. So it's kind of interesting to see how everybody's partaking in this, but it's a proven technology and it's very effective.
Sinise, do you see this becoming a little bit more of a hybrid as we move, kind of transition back into virtual, into in-person events? I'm hoping that in-person events come back. I think we all want them to come back soon, but then it just gives us options for deciding what is the best, most cost-effective way. Where do you see that hybrid landing?
I absolutely see them being paired to continue to be paired together when we get back to a point when we can do in-person events. I'm talking to my clients about it now when we're talking about fall events and 2021 events and beyond, that we've now offered this option, and we've actually grown. Most of what we're seeing is audience sizes are growing because we're getting people who couldn't travel for whatever those needs were. Those reasons were, whether it was childcare or too much work on their plate or whatever it might have been. So I see this we're still going to have our in-person event as well as offer it online so that you can choose between either option. I don't see us taking away the online option anytime soon.
If people didn't have an event planned, but were thinking about it, or had an event planned that they now need to switch. That's how most of my clients have been. Actually, they had these in-person events, and every day we're making a decision that, now the event in July is now going to be virtual, and, how do we do that? And, if people are thinking about hosting something virtual or had something that they're trying to transition, do you have like the top 3 things or the first 3 things that they should be doing? I'll start with Sinise, and then we'll go to Charles and Jay.
The first thing you need to do is be realistic. Your online event is going to cost you money. A lot of people that I talk to think that we're hardly going to spend anything because we're moving it online and we won't have air in hotel. There are costs. There are people behind the scenes, depending on what level of online event you put on. And there's a lot of production that goes on behind it. And those people need to get paid, and they're going to give you an amazing online event. So be realistic, make sure you're prepared for that. I think the second thing is to, as I had said earlier, really take a good look at your content and your presenters and make sure there's value and purpose in what you're doing. So many people have meetings to have meetings. Give it value, give it purpose, make sure you're meeting everybody's needs, and if you're taking their time, making good use of their time. And I think the third piece of advice I would give you, bring in those production partners and planning partners, let them support you through it, because it is not an easy thing to do on your own, certainly not the first time around. You don't always perhaps need a new planning team on your side through it, but at least get some support to get you through the first one, learn from their mistakes, don't make them yourself, and then grow from there.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. Charles, Jay, what about you? If somebody was interested in starting their first virtual event, doing something like this, kind of launching the space, what should they be doing?
Well, I'm glad you're on with us, Sinise, because there was a great answer. And when I think of these things, I'm already thinking bells and whistles and technology and specifics that way. So from a technological point of view, I would specifically, there's a checklist that you can do. And one of them is make sure your ISP, your internet service provider, is solid, that you're getting 10 megabits per second upload speed or more. I would make sure your lighting is good for these events. Where are you going to have it? Where are you going to have the event? Is it going to be in a room, an office, inside, outside? Your lighting is very important for these virtual rooms. How many panelists, how many people are you going to have? your camera. What kind of camera are you going to use? You're going to use an external camera. You're going to use a computer camera. You know, those are things that you're going to need to decide before you start launching. Your backgrounds, you know, are you going to use a virtual background, or are you going to use a, you know, an outside background? You know, you don't, for as far as lighting, you don't want to, you know, have a window behind you because you'll look like you're in the dark. You want to have lighting in front of you. You want to keep your camera about eye level or a little bit above. I keep looking to the mic right here because my camera, I have an external camera that's over here. So I'm not doing it the way you should do it, but you should be looking at the camera the whole time. And that makes, if you're looking at the camera, you're making eye contact with people. Basically those are the things that I'm thinking about when I'm, you know, who your hosting is going to be. I'm talking, you know, I'm always thinking about equipment and do I have enough bandwidth so this event's going to go off without a hitch.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah, I know. I keep upping and changing up my game here in terms of my lighting and my setup. And I still have to look over to the side because that's where I have my questions for you, unless I come up with the question on the fly, which I have done for the last couple. So thank you for indulging me on that one. But we did have another question. Actually, we've got a couple more questions. Jay and Charles, can you guys touch on some of the security issues? Obviously, Zoom was, made the news in a negative way, about a month ago with some of their security challenges because so many people were using it. Can you talk about the security pieces and how what people should be doing moving forward?
You want to talk about that?
Well, they're talking about encryption.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, in other words, Zoom uses its own encryption. It's
Yeah.
not a standard encryption, so that's why they got a bad mark. But other programs, which are much more expensive, do.
Yeah.
In other words, we use encryption with our teams. So basically, it's limited to a 4 type of video conference for people, but it's all encrypted. So that's going to be a big difference is the money you put in. So
You need to check with your third-party provider who is, what is their security practices. Like with Zoom, they fixed that pretty quick where, they started stressing for meetings using waiting rooms. So you have the ability to let people in using passwords that are encrypted into the meeting link. But you need to do your homework and make sure that they have those in place. Like Charles was saying, our Teams platform is encrypted, and we relate with our third-party provider in all matters of security.
Yeah. So so what I'm hearing is that Zoom has upgraded their encryption and has upgraded some of those pieces so that if you follow their procedures and their recommended protocols, then it's safe and you're okay, but there are certainly others if you need to, other solutions if you need to modify those in a different way. Is that correct?
Yeah, like Cisco.
Yeah, Cisco comes into place.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it comes down to money. But that's a large topic.
Okay.
Yeah.
Another question we have is, besides looking at each other and which is what we're doing here, besides looking at each other during a presentation, in this either, Chris used the term checkerboard, yes, or the Brady Bunch family, which is what I always call those things, or looking at the PowerPoint presentation, which we've got a combination of both. What are other fun activities that we could do to keep people engaged? And with that, I'm going to pop up another quick poll question. Have you attended a virtual event during the outbreak? And then I'm going to turn it over to Sinise to see, Sinise, if you have any thoughts or ideas on some fun things to keep the audience engaged in different ways. Okay, so most people have attended a virtual event of some sort during this pandemic. We've got a little pause here. I'm going to end that poll and share the results. So you can see that 73% of you have attended some sort of, virtual event during this pandemic. So, Sinise, any thoughts or ideas of making things? I mean, you've kind of thrown out a couple of different fun things in terms of breaks and sponsored activities and events, and any other thoughts, ideas?
Yeah, I mean, you definitely want to know your audience and know what will engage them. I think some of the things that you can do is, what we're doing here, do polls. Don't just talk at people the whole entire time. Break up your content. You want to do some videos, you want to do some polls, you want engaging speakers, you want more than one speaker. Have a moderator, or not a moderator, an MC. Someone who keeps the show flow going and keeps the group entertained. There's also a ton of companies out there that will help you bring in games to your event. I've seen companies that are even creating bingo sheets. So different words and phrases and things that will be said during the meeting, and bingo, whoever gets bingo first, and they get a prize. And everybody's hanging on every word because they want the prize. So there's things like that you can do. And I think also, engaging through a social wall, or pre, post, and during engagement with social media, hashtags, things like that.
A lot of it really is the same thing that we would do in a live event. I had somebody ask this morning, if we moved a course from in-person into a virtual world, how are we going to make sure that people aren't checking their email or are doing other work on their laptops? Well, we couldn't when we were in the room. So we have made the decision, instead of it being 8 hours of sitting in a classroom, we're going to chunk it up, and smaller windows of opportunity to hopefully keep people much more engaged. I know after an hour of sitting here, I need to stand up and make a loop around the house. So attendees even that are, sitting here and super engaged, asking questions, commenting, things like that. We're all humans and like to be entertained.
A lot of people are doing that, Sandy. They're breaking up their content into multiple days, smaller chunks over multiple days, and having a call to action so that you can't show up to the next one and just be there. You've got to have paid attention to the first one you were in. You've got a call to action at the end of it, which you can't process unless you've listened to the first one, and you kick off the second one with that.
Oh, I like that. Okay, cool. We're doing
something fun, not necessarily like completely tied into your course or whatever's going on, right? Because you want to keep it humanized, get a fun element in it, keep people engaged. We also want to learn, but we could talk about other things. It doesn't have to be 100% of the time just that business content. Don't be afraid to have that social aspect in it, because you're missing out on what you would have at an in-person meeting, as you're getting your coffee before you go into the ballroom, on your way to the lunchroom, or when you take an AM break, all of those things. So I would tell people, don't be afraid to add a social element into your business content.
My team, if you hadn't imagined, is pretty social. We all enjoy things. So actually tomorrow, Platinum PR, my company, is hosting our first virtual event for ourselves. We're doing a concert. We realized about a week ago that we all miss sitting around a bar, drinking a beer, and yelling at one another over the music. And so we are bringing in a local musician, and we're going to do a Zoom meeting, and we're going to listen to her perform for an hour. You're all invited if you want to go to Platinum PR Firm on Facebook. You can get the details, but I'm not an event planning company necessarily. We help in different ways, but I don't know, looking at fun ways to engage people. It does not have to be fancy or, have a really high production value. In this tomorrow, we're just looking to have some fun for an hour. I think we're calling it Sips and Songs. So playing off of our, a little happy hour-esque. So just a thought. Jay, anything, kind of along those lines that you're thinking of?
Well, you stole my thunder because I was going to say the same thing. We have two events that I've seen online. Is one was a concert. It was just a local artist who makes a living playing Fridays and Saturday nights at local pubs, outdoor events, and he does Facebook Live and streams. And you can go onto his website, and he's got his website in one screen and Facebook Live on the other, and you can request songs. You've got about 500 songs. You request it. He does poll questions. He gives away prizes. And then it was a DJ that we used to see, actually my brother's college down in Radford. He would DJ at the local bar there, and he had a basement set up his basement was set up as a dance club, and he played songs from like 20 years ago when they were in college, and everybody was chiming in and talking online. They had probably about 75, 80 people from his class 20 years ago, chiming in from this DJ. They had a lot of fun.
That's awesome. I love it. Thank you. Yeah, I've got a couple of requests. I'd never even thought to ask her first what she could play. So now I have to plan for my event tomorrow. But I was laughing, actually kind of throwing this event together a little bit. It started out as something private for my company. And I was like, no, let's invite the world. Let's invite anybody on Facebook. Let's do something silly. So that's what we're doing as well. Again, I'm going to open it up for, remind everybody, add some questions in the chat box. We've got some, tech and event planning experts here on figuring out how to host your next successful event. Anything that, you're working on now, any ideas that you have that you'd like to, ask about, tap us here. We've got, about 12 minutes left. Sinise, can you talk a little bit about, while we wait for all the questions to come flooding in again, can you talk a little bit about partnership and collaboration with different entities, and maybe the best ways to do that, the best ways to expand your team and expand your reach when collaborating with others to host events?
Yes, I think if you don't have someone internally who has the knowledge to take this on for you, bring someone in. Bring someone in. Don't hire an intern. Bring in a professional. Learn from them. Do brainstorming with them. I love to hear about not just an event, but tell me about the company. Tell me about your successes. What are your struggles? What's going on in sales operations? What's going on in marketing? And how can we tie all these things into some element of the event, if appropriate? So thinking about engaging on all of those levels as well. You want to bring in, a production partner to support a platform that you choose. Like I said, there's a lot going on, and if this is new for you, it's not something you want to try to run yourself, even if this isn't new for you. Mm-hmm. I do a lot of big corporate events that we broadcast online, and I always work with production partners. I've learned a ton over the years. I'm not taking it on myself. There's a reason that these professionals are there. They're educated on the latest and greatest. They've gone through all the stumbles and picked it up when you didn't even know that they happened. So definitely make sure that you're engaging people to support you. Think about the objectives of your event. Make sure you're very clear on what you want those objectives to be. Think about your audience. And if you aren't clear on what their expectations are, ask them, send a survey, have a conference call, talk to them. Don't think you know what they need. If you are the least bit unsure, talk to them and find out what they might need. And when it comes to your event itself, practice, practice, practice. Pre-record what you can. I think it's always helpful to do that, but you want the live stuff as well. But definitely you want to, do your run-throughs. Don't do it the first time, just getting up there live and going through it, because through your practice, you'll see there's always stumbles through it, and you want to be able to get right through them when you do go live. You don't want to be flustered by it.
Awesome. I love it. Charles, Jay, what about you? You know, any tips on this, you know, idea of partnership and collaboration? Heck, this entire webinar series has been a partnership with economic development, the chamber, and you guys. So what are your thoughts there?
I think as a business perspective, collaborating with other businesses is huge. I mean, you can, you're using other people's mailing lists. You can double or triple your attendance by collaborating with other businesses and other partners. You're reaching that many more people, and that you have that the chance of others, you know, other partners, customers being involved with your business is a lot more better, a lot higher than if you're just trying to do things alone. Collaboration is the way to go. It leads to a lot more customers down the line too.
Awesome.
I think another thing, thinking about, someone earlier had asked about fundraisers. You know, another thing you may need to look at your sponsorship relationships a little differently and think about other ones you may not have ever thought of, because there might be a better fit for a relationship because people are home. You might want to try to get a sponsorship with someone who provides online classes. Different things that people can do at home on their own for their own enrichment or family time, or just a gift back to themselves. Just sit and rethink it. You don't rule it out. I think if you rethink it, you'll find a way.
Awesome, great. So kind of a final question that I have is, you know, what's the next step? If I am a business owner, I've got an idea, or I have a webinar that or an event, excuse me, that I've had live and now I need to shift it virtual. What should be the next thing I do? How should I be following up after this webinar? Jay?
Well, like I said at the beginning, we do assess needs for people. So we have, you know, you can go to our website, ustech.com, or you can call us. You know, we'd be glad to talk to you and talk about the practical things to do, the logistic, hardware, software. We get down to the nuts and bolts and help you in every way. I think, yeah, that's my best explanation, just to call us and we can go over everything one-on-one and give you some time. You know, it's all a free assessment, so you can reach out to us at any time. What do you say?
Well, it's the same thing. I mean, it's basically knowing your.
Yeah.
You said it.
Okay.
Awesome.
We agree.
I'm sorry, is that a rarity? Okay. After 20 some years, I'm guessing that's probably pretty common.
Yeah.
Sinise, what about you?
Talking form now.
I love it. Beautiful, beautiful collaboration. Sinise, what about you? I'm leaving this webinar. What's the first thing I need to do?
I agree. I think if you don't have the team in-house to figure this out on your own, pick up the phone. You know, I'm happy to talk to anyone and give you my ideas on how you want to do something. You know, what your event looked like in person, and give you my ideas on, you know, how you can take it online and some elements to switch up so that it's a successful online event for you. I think the biggest thing, to Jay's point, is just collaborate with other people, reach out to other services, see what they have to offer you, be very clear with them on your expectations, your budget, all of that. And I think you'll, you know, in the end up with a good partnership and a great online event.
Awesome. Thank you. Well, with that, I don't see any more questions. I'm just going to then get into my last little bit of housekeeping. But first, thank you guys. Oh my gosh, Charles, Jay, Sinise. Awesome. I know I've got a big old list of, I was writing very small, but engaging, you know, setting my goals first off, collaborating, and practice. Oh my gosh, definitely. So really appreciate that. Next week, our next webinar we have is working from home and mental health care. Oh my gosh, I think we heck, I mentioned this with my Platinum PR team, and our concert that we're doing tomorrow night is because we all need a little, a little break. And so finding ways and being super respectful of and caring of self and others, family, colleagues, friends, neighbors. So we've got a couple of experts and a great friend and speaker that are going to be coming in and joining us next week. So I encourage you to register for that. Registration is available at the Charles County Economic Development Department's website, meetcharlescounty.com. As always, the Charles County Chamber is there. Oh, one other thing that I think of when I think of the Chamber, but when we talked about Zoom and GoToWebinar and all of these different things, somebody had also commented that there are oftentimes some nonprofit discounts. So if, for those of you who are nonprofits, that might be something that you can capitalize on. And I know that the Chamber in our last couple of webinars has stated to remind us to go and tap in on those Chamber membership benefits that we get, and they get some really nice member benefits for all of us that are members of the Chamber. So again, next up, working from home mental health care next Wednesday, May 13th. And with that, I thank you. I thank you to our attendees who are here today. I, thank you for engaging in the chat and asking questions. But Charles, Jay, thank you for your ongoing week by week behind the scenes support of this webinar series. I wouldn't want to do it without you, so I thank you for that. And Sinise, you're amazing. What else can I say? Truly, you look at events and the planning and the details in a way that my mind doesn't, and I appreciate you, and I thank you for giving us your time today.
Thank you, Sandy. Thank you for having me.
You are very welcome. Okay, with that, actually, I just got a couple of quick, just a thank you. And every county business and nonprofit can join the Chamber right now for free. Oh my gosh. Okay, did you hear that? Every county business and nonprofit can join the Charles County Chamber of Commerce for free. And you can go to her website for more information. Whew, that's amazing, Bonnie. Thank you for that. So yeah, with that, I will say thank you. I look forward to seeing you all again next week. And to clarify, the Charles County Chamber membership, or Charles County Strong, through August 31st, 2020. Her website, I'm going to pop back up the Charles County Chamber website so that you see that, charlescountychamber.org, and the replay of this, as well as the slide deck that Jay presented, will be on the meetcharlescounty.com website on their coronavirus webinars section. Okay, with that, thank you all very much. And I look forward, to seeing you all again soon. Thanks. Have a great one.